details. Download the Fox News app at foxnewspodcasts.com.
Good afternoon, everybody. I'm Martha McCown.
To enable screen reader, press square button.
Breaking right now on the story in moments. I will speak with the father of one of the four students who were viciously slain in an off-campus house at the University of Idaho as we get new developments in that case today. We'll get to that in just a moment. But first, Congress in the middle of hearing the big crypto collapse and the banking market. This is serious and banking-free, right? And Congress, many of whom took donations from this young man, now face the first questions, and they're asking questions as well about what kind of regulation maybe should have been in place in this Wild West crypto market. The first hearing kicks off on Capitol Hill, and the former FTX CEO Sam Bankman-Fried, not there, in the Bahamas, but he is reaching out and telling his story.
To enable screen reader, press square button.
I, as CEO, we messed up there.
I did not know that there's any improper
To enable screen reader, press square
use
button.
of customer funds. If I had been spending an hour a day thinking about risk management on FTX, I don't think that would have happened. I should have been running with that said it was really critical, but I wasn't, and I know a lot of people got hurt.
That is on me. Wow, this is pretty remarkable. FTX did these interviews from that penthouse that you see in this video in the Bahamas. He says that he thinks the customers of the U.S. branch of FTX, some of them could get their money back. He's just scrambling to say that he's going to be able to do that. We'll see where that goes. Sandra Smith and Fox News senior correspondent Charlie Gasparino, both on top of this story from the very beginning. We're going to get to them in just a moment. But first, the background here today on the new development. Senior national correspondent Rich Edson on Capitol Hill. Hi, Rich.
Good afternoon, Martha. Well, Congress is getting involved, as it typically tends to do in these situations here. The first hearing specifically on the FTX collapse earlier this afternoon by the Senate Agricultural Committee. It has jurisdiction over the Commodity Futures Trading Commission, and that is a group that has been looking into this whole thing for a while here. The chairman of the CFTC was up here testifying earlier today, Rostin Benham. He testified to senators that it's going to take months to understand the scope of this FTX failure. He says his agency needs more authority to regulate all of this business.
We have no basic evidence to sort of pierce through that entity and start fishing or asking questions about affiliate entities or non-CFTC registered entities.
Benham also says his agency did not receive any whistleblower tips about problems at FTX. Former FTX CEO Sam Bankman-Fried is accused of transferring funds from FTX to another firm that financed risky bets. Those went bad, the whole operation collapsed. Bankman-Fried says he never tried to commit fraud. FTX is in bankruptcy, has $8 billion in shortfalls, and it says it may owe more money to more than 1 million creditors, from major investment firms to Americans who say they invested their entire life savings. Bankman-Fried faces investigations from the FCC and the Justice Department. He says he has less than $100,000 now and access to only one credit card. Bankman-Fried was the second highest donor to Democrats during the most recent midterm cycle. He now claims he quietly gave the same amount of money, or about that, to Republicans. The chairman of the CFTC says that he met with Bankman-Fried 10 times over the last 14 months. Consumer groups say that was an effort to try to weaken any regulation that was working its way through the CFTC. Now it'll be up to Congress to figure out how to sort this mess out, and whether there will be more regulation now, much more of it, on the crypto markets going forward. That's you, Mike.
Thank you very much. Rich Edson, so joining me now, America Report's Frank Sanders and Fox News senior correspondent Charlie Gasparino. You guys have been all over this story. You just interviewed one of the people who lost $2 million in this debacle. And you sound skeptical, both of you, about what Congress is going to be able to do at this point. Well, his question wasn't prior. His question is, why would he be delivering that Q&A with the New York Times from the comfort of his home in the Bahamas and not from a jail cell? I mean, if he is actually guilty of what is alleged against him, this is one of the biggest financial scams that we've ever seen.
And you do have to tell you. I mean, I think one thing I will say, I hope this whole debate will not revolve into, regulation, the regulators. This is theft. This is possibly allegedly theft. Theft has been illegal since time, common law. You go way back. You can't take something that's not yours and do something with it and lose it. If you do that, you've stolen something. And I think that's where, I mean, I like Andrew Rosorkin's a friend of mine. I thought he did a decent job, but that's where I don't think he should have stepped in at some point.
Screen
when
reader.
Sam Bankman-Fried said there was no controls and money was taken. He said, isn't that theft? You can't take that which does not belong.
Yeah, you know, it's actually, so you've got this guy, you know, who has said, oh, he didn't want to cut his hair because he thought it was sort of part of the whole persona. Everyone thinks this MIT kid is so super smart, and he must know something he doesn't understand, and, you know, he's going to be the future of making all of this money. And Sandra, you know, at the very least, you know, with regard to why he's able to freely have these conversations at this point, what happened to the extradition that we heard with
Fair enough. I think what's going to be the interesting next step in all of this is going to be members of Congress who are going to say, we can't let this happen again. They're going to try to step in and regulate. Have you seen how they've tried to regulate the financial markets when something happens without a lot of knowledge? And ask any member of Congress to explain cryptocurrency, crypto markets to you.
Yeah.
Most people have a hard time, let alone members of Congress.
Democrats would love this to go. Let's go regulatory. Let's go this. Again, there is a potential crime here. He actually said yesterday to Sorkin that he didn't have any of these controls. That we didn't have risk control of this. We didn't have a conflict of interest risk control, or we didn't have it. We had no risk control. Now think about that. That's like saying, you're a doctor, you perform your heart surgery, but you didn't go to med school. If you're a financial
Hurt anybody. I mean, that is not an excuse.
if you start a securities firm and you don't have, you've got to have risk control. It's like having a TV network without a watch.
Sandra, people invested their money in this. You know, there is a bit of buyer beware here as well.
There's risk. That being said, there's a lot of people that made this a bigger financial scam than it had to be by turning a blind eye. And by that, I'm not just saying Congress. There's a lot of people who were identifying this man as a fraud shot. Terry Duffy. Terry Duffy, the head of the largest state in the world, helping a fraud to escape war members of Congress, who pushed back, including Bill Thomas, probably challenged him on that.
And many members point out were receiving donations. He was the second largest donor to Democrat candidates. He also gave money to Republican candidates as well. And we've seen this play before, right? It's like all of a sudden Congress goes, oh, we're going to regulate you. We're going to come down on you and sort of keep your attention over here, and not to the fact that we took money from this.
What's not even that? I mean, there's a potential crime here. If the U.S. attorney should be
I hope Fenner got some sleep. Maybe he'll be ready to eat when we get home.
You guys find out, let me know. Frequency,
White
so much. So,
I know. He was a little better yesterday.
One of the Harvard University of
Well, he wasn't.
Haley
If he keeps eating, I'm not giving up on him.
And he takes comfort in knowing that his daughter died alongside her best friend, Maggie Mosen, that they were eating the same bed when that happened. They've been best friends for more than a decade. I will speak with him in a moment. Live.
It's her.
And it's a shame,
It's not far.
and it hurts. That they were with it, friends in the whole world.
She wouldn't give up that easy, would she?
She never does. Stay alert.
We're providing greater access to investment with low-cost options to help you promote premium.
There she is! Look! Mother!
We help you invest.
Got you! You gotta get away from her!
I'm trying.
Up there! What's she? Look out! Trees! Coming down! That was too close. She's coming around again! I'm losing my grip here! Father!
I have you. Hold tight.
Protection stave is near.
Oh no! Wait, we're not your enemy!
Hey.
Why wait to live the life of love? You were hundreds of thousands of Americans hired, going, and to enjoy your life.
Hey.
And remember the gift. It was one of those gifts that just landed perfectly.
I figured this is a great holiday present since I won't be with him for Christmas.
It was the best gift that I ever received because it opened up my life.
Unwrap your family story with Ancestry DNA.
When you get a chip in your windshield, trust Safeway. This gift
Travis Day. We made it.
Let us go home.
Becky, Shauna, up. I'm sorry I couldn't take the shot.
I did not wish you to.
Keep hoping she'll let it go. You saved her life.
I killed her son. There is no letting that go.
Yeah.
But not anymore. You have choice or more. They cover over 25
I guess killing Balder really did bring on Fimbulwinter. Never stopped snowing after that day. Think it's ever gonna get better?
Someday. But the worst is still ahead of us. We must be strong.
Get your first month free.
So when you're wanting in a fridge, washing machine, throw in the towel.
So let's continue the war column called Choice Home Warranty before they break down.
Call right now for your first month free. Call in the next 10 minutes and get free limited roof repair coverage. Call 800-359-7814. 800-359-7814.
The man on the left-hand side of your screen was reportedly shot in the head and killed by Iranian security forces because he was celebrating Iran's loss to the United States at the World Cup. That according to a human rights group. He was also apparently a friend of one of the Iranian soccer players who is now speaking out. Correspondent Alex Hogan reporting live from the World Cup in Doha.
Come on, girls.
Hi, Martha. Another deadly crackdown on demonstrators. The group Iran Human Rights says as many as 440 people have been killed by security forces in these months of protests. And now, after the 1-0 U.S. win over Iran, people in Iran took to the streets celebrating their laws as a moment of defiance against the regime. Activists say that security forces in northern Iran at one of those protests killed this man, 27-year-old Mehran Samak. Security reportedly shooting him in the head for honking his horn in celebration of the U.S. win. Samak was a friend of Iranian soccer player Syed Ezzatullahi. This midfielder pictured in his photo for Tuesday's game. Ezzatullahi quickly responded, posting online, quote, "After last night's bitter loss, the news of your passing set fire to my heart. Someday, masks will fall. The truth will be laid bare." The team traveled back to Iran late last night after a time here in Qatar of political turmoil. Many of them fell to the ground after the loss on Game 3, comforted by their U.S. counterparts, and their families have reportedly been threatened if the players refuse to sing the national anthem as they had done in Game 1. Now, we have seen activism here at the World Cup, but but many of the protesters who held onto signs, those signs have been removed by security forces at the stadiums, and police even stopped one man who was wearing a T-shirt that supported women's rights, one that has now been associated with this movement, and stopped that man after the latest match. Martha?
Thank you very much. Alex Hogan, reporting from Doha. So breaking news today, Moscow, Idaho police clearing up some confusion, saying that they still believe that the attack against these students was, quote, targeted, though they have not concluded if the target was the residents or specific targets, individuals within that residence. So you can understand why this is very difficult and frustrating for the families of these beautiful four students. The father of one of them, David Fast
and strong.
Today, everything costs
But
more.
you can reason.
Gas, groceries, cars.
Okay.
We all need cash in the bank to stay ahead. Well, here's great news for veterans who own a home. It's thousands to find new all-time highs. That means cash is right there in your home. New Day can unlock it with the New Day 100 VA cash out loan. It lets you borrow up to 100% of your home's value, not just part of it like some other loans. Pay down your credit card debt, consolidate your second mortgage, and car loan. You have the security of cash in the bank. The VA has granted New Day automatic authority. When banks say no to a veteran, New Day can say yes.
Call 1-833-885-4557.
When you get a chip in your windshield, trust Safeway. This couple was headed to the farmer's market. When they got a chip, they drove to Safeway for a same-day repair. And with their insurance, it was no cost to them. That's service the way you need it.
This year, Americans will spend $40+ billion on auto repair. It's like billions with a B. Why is that number so high? Because cars break down. Your vehicle is going to end up in a shop like this too, and if it's no longer under warranty, you're the one who has to pay the bill, and it could cost you thousands of dollars. That is, unless you call CarShield. With a plan through CarShield, administrators will pay for those costly repairs directly to the mechanic of your choice, including dealerships. That means you get protection on major parts and systems, like the engine, transmission, electrical systems, and more. Plus, 24/7 emergency services with ladder damaged tires, lockouts, dead batteries, and towing at no additional cost. And even dental options on the road.
Unexpected car repairs can wreak havoc on somebody's house, but they don't have to win. No reps have to decide whether they should put food on the table or pay for a car repair. If you drop out of one,
training is all we ever do, ever. It's not enough. We can't hide forever.
It's nice to find a company like CarShield that actually cares about your customer.
CarShield has a rich history of dependability, reliability, and success. They've been featured on major networks like ABC, CNN, Fox News, and more.
Time is running out.
America's most trusted
The prophecies say Fimbulwinter leads to Ragnarok. War is coming. Whatever Loki's supposed to be doing, he's supposed to be doing it now. My story doesn't end hiding in these woods. I should be out there, finding out who I am, who Loki is.
I will not allow you to pick a fight with gods.
Every plan for CarShield comes with a
I don't want to fight anyone. I just want answers.
The price you pay today will never change for as long as you cover your car.
Call now and save money with the price out guarantee. It's not a matter of if your car will break down, but when. Call CarShield now before it's too late. Call 800-278-8240. 800-278-8240.
For psoriasis and psoriatic arthritis.
Even walking was tough.
I had to do something. I started Cosentyx.
Cosentyx can help improve, look, and feel better by treating the multiple symptoms of psoriatic arthritis. Don't use it if you're allergic to Cosentyx. Before starting, get checked for tuberculosis. An increased risk of infections sounds serious, and lowered ability to fight them may occur. Tell your doctor about an infection or symptoms, or if you've had a vaccine or plan to. Tell your doctor if your Crohn's disease symptoms develop or worsen. Serious allergic reactions may occur. Watch. Ask your rheumatologist about Cosentyx.
A new twist in the Idaho quadruple murder mystery. Moscow police clarifying today, again, that they do still think that this was a targeted attack, that they haven't concluded whether the killer was after the students or this residence. Very confusing. The father of Celia DeSalva is going to speak with us in just a moment. But first, we want to go to our reporter on the ground there, Christina Coleman, who has been following this every day.
I recognize that dour expression anywhere. Care to tell me what went wrong?
Indeed, I just talked to some students and a resident from around the area that they're just trying to wrap their head around all of this.
Where's the lad taking it?
And the news statement today, all clarification last night directly addressed comments made by Lake County Prosecutor Thompson, who said the suspect specifically looked at this residence and that one or more occupants were undoubtedly targeted. We remain consistent in our belief that this was indeed a targeted attack, but have not concluded if the target was the resident or its occupant. Also, there is some progress in this case. Idaho State Police say investigators are starting to receive forensic testing results from a crime lab. Meantime, this community continues to grieve. Parents of 3 of the victims attended a candlelight vigil last night at the university in honor of the slain students, paying tribute to their short lives and the legacy they left behind. Police have confirmed 2 of the victims were found on the second floor and that 2 other victims were found on the third floor of that 3-story off-campus home on November 13th. And although police have not confirmed exactly where the victims were found in the room, Haley's father gave some insight into this last night. He talked at that vigil, very touching comments. It was very nice to hear his remarks. He explained how his daughter was best friends with Madison Logan up until the scary moment.
Then they started looking at colleges. They couldn't hear together. They didn't get into the same apartment together. And in the end, they died together in the same room, in the same bed. And it's a shame. And it hurts.
Are you joining
me? But the beauty of the 2 always being together is something that it comforts us.
Just absolutely heartbreaking. And in an exclusive interview with Fox News yesterday, the father of Madison Logan urged anyone who could
walk as though Amir himself sits atop your shoulders.
This is your hunt.
Every time I wake up,
I will follow.
Very well.
What's going on? And it's like, I don't know how you ever get used to this.
Fresh kill.
It's never gonna.
At least it didn't suffer. Am I to decipher your grunting?
And again, so many answers, questions as officers and with law enforcement work to solve this crime and figure out who is behind this brutal.
Your words are misguided.
Martha, thank you, Christina. With that, we bring in Steve Gonzalez, who is the father of Haley. And we're going to now, Steve, first of all, our condolences
we want to
you
help.
And your family. We're so sorry for your loss, sir. We have similar ages, and I can't imagine what you're going through. So I thank you for being here. And as I mentioned to you earlier, our goal in talking to you is to keep this story out there to show the crime, which we're going to put up on the screen in just a moment. But I want to react to this confusion. Targeted, not targeted. Maybe the people in the house, maybe it's the residents.
The problem doesn't have to reach our doorstep for it to be our
If we have the power to multiple individuals to review, it's not like this was something said on the side of the street within the first 5 hours of the case. And these guys are professionals. They sat in the room, and this is what they came out with.
Who are we to hide and do nothing?
More questions than the answer. And then that creates a pressure. And that's why I'm feeling like there's so many people coming and looking for answers. And I'm one of them.
One of the things that you said last night about the 2 of them having fallen asleep in the same bed, that was new information. Is that the case, that they were actually in the same bed?
To me, it wasn't new. The coroner had shared a bunch of information about there. There were some photos, if you knew the house design, you would have seen that there was a picture of Katie's bed, and it was made. There wasn't nothing in there, so it was kind of a process of elimination. If you've been in the home, if you knew the inside information, you knew that was my outer room. So to me, it had been out, but I'm sure they're not happy with me saying that. And I didn't mean to say something that was supposed to be on the wraps, but I told them.
Good boy.
You got to work with me. You got to tell me what to say and what not to say, and I'll listen. But sometimes they're scared to give you those advices, and I understand.
Let me ask you something George Jones, you know, do you believe that people on this campus know something that the rest of us don't know? Do you think that there was a stalker involved in this case?
I don't think it matters what I particularly feel. I just want them to follow the evidence. I think even people who don't have information, I know people have been scared to share stuff because there may be alcohol or drugs or something in the background. Some people, if they're scared to submit stuff, it could be a party, it could be anything around that neighborhood within that time that could help us. And I think that community is going to solve this case just as much as those officers in that room.
You said something about, you know, someone's car could be, you know, in a selfie or a video.
Hence my bellowing.
They had an alibi,
He never came back from burying the wolf. In some time.
Tell me about that. What are you thinking when you say that, sir?
I have an IT background. I know Teslas and some other vehicles have cameras that you don't even have to turn on and they're recording. And there's some chips in there that before they that's the way the Wi-Fi work. So this individual came into these homes and partied.
Tracks heading down to the frozen river. That's most likely where he did the burying.
I want him to be scared. I don't want him to be confident. I want him to be sick of seeing my face. And
Fire's dwindling now. Where else could he have gone from here?
And the worst thing I want is another thing to go through here.
Gary's mom said something about being fearful that he is around. That he's not able to that he can even show up at a funeral protest
even for you.
For your daughter or one of these
Nightmares?
I dream of the past.
It's pretty much a fact.
Almost every night.
Who does something like
bad
this?
old days in Greece?
Who would?
It feels like phase.
100% selfish.
Tell me something.
So
You don't mean to say you're talking to ghosts again, brother?
Some kind of celebration,
But it is something more than memory.
So, yeah, he could easily be there, and that's the sick kind of twisted person that would do this kind of.
You know, when you talked about getting into the phone, you said we have family passwords, and, you know, we were able to get in there. Is there anything that you can share with us about what you learned there, or people she was communicating with? We know there was a back and forth between she and her on-and-off boyfriend through the course of the night.
There was a little, there was some information. We were able to get that to the police officers.
Use your words,
I
brother.
think
The
it
tracks stop
definitely
here.
helped them. I know.
And we're not alone.
It did definitely get some more things. My daughter, Maddie, will pass.
That she was over someone else, or that someone else was?
I do think that there was some different psychological friends giving him
sharing this with us. And as I said, we're going to put the tip line is up right now. It's 208-883-7180. And as you have said, none of these young people should fear that if they were drinking that night or involved in what most of us would consider pretty typical college behavior, that they are going to become a problem, that that's going to be a problem for them. They need to come forward with their videos, whatever's on their phone, whatever they might have picked up.